towards some sort of collaboration going forward. Now, I wasn't aware this was going to be recorded. So my name is David Rugara. I'm the College Director of International Partnerships at the Business School in Lincoln, and look after the internationalization strategy of the college and all our sort of student and staff mobility. Paul?
Okay, thank you, David, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. So we're pleased to be on the platform today to explore the theme for the NEMA webinar series. So my name is Dr. Paul Igwe. So at the University of Lincoln, particularly Lincoln International Business School, where I am and presenting from today. So I'm a senior lecturer in strategy and enterprise. But I'm also involved in other roles that are associated with my role at Lincoln. For example, I am the college lead for decolonizing the curriculum and research, but I'm also regional academic lead for internationalization activities. In that way, I report to Professor David Rugara on international activities within West Africa and East African region. So yeah, I'm delighted to share. Today is more about sharing, the approach that we take towards internationalization. I'm sure that all of us, despite our different discipline and also despite our different association in terms of where we are, we all know that universities and higher education do the same thing, that they go out to collaborate on research, on teaching, and associated activities. So thank you. I will come back to explore the topic for today, but at this point, I want to thank you for having us.
That's wonderful, Paul. Colleagues, I've just put screen sharing on. Can you confirm, Paul, is the screen share coming up?
The screen share is, but can you confirm, the moderator, can you confirm, is there any agenda before the presentation, or we should go ahead with the presentation?
We go ahead with the presentation.
Okay.
In whatever that you feel comfortable.
Sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, with the presentation.
Paul, can you hear anything?
No, I can't hear.
She says you can go ahead with the presentation. The question and answer will come in at the end of your presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Juliet. So we thought the way we crafted this, colleagues, is to sort of briefly introduce the university so you are aware of where we are coming from, and the geography we are talking from, and then Paul will then move on to talk about the way we have approached internationalization at the University of Lincoln. In particular, what we've set out as key pillars in conceptualizing internationalization. So I think our approach, Paul, we agreed that we want it to be conversational, discursive, rather than Moses coming down from a mountain with instructions, but we are here to share and exchange views. So just briefly about, this is the setting of the University of Lincoln. We are situated at the Brayford Pool, which is just minutes out of the city itself. As you can see, I'm sure Lois has already perhaps bored some of you to death about how beautiful the place is. It's a very nice chic little town campus. The campus itself is we are one campus university, mainly for students. As you can see, what you can see in the background there is the Lincoln Cathedral, which is where our graduations take place, and it's a very interesting historic place to visit. So those of you may be in the future kind enough to want to visit us, it's a place that would definitely encourage people to go and see. This gives you an aerial view of the university and in terms of its situation within the city of Lincoln. As you can see, we are right in the middle of the city itself and the surrounding community. And this has informed the thinking and the strategic mission and purpose of the university, in that we are a civic university and we think of ourselves as a member of the community. So everything that we do, collaborations, our interactions, we always want to give back. You know, what value are we adding to our local community? So this is one of the values that we carry throughout our interactions and our mission. So about the university itself, we've got 4 colleges at the University of Lincoln. The College of Arts, the College of Sciences, the College of Social Science, and the Lincoln International Business School. That's where myself and Paul, and of course Lois, are situated. So within these colleges, you've got different schools. I'm aware that some universities have got different structures. So hopefully this can just give you a viewpoint of where you might be sort of interested in terms of extending your hand towards collaboration according to the schools on the screen. So the College of Arts has got the School of Architecture and Built Environment, School of Design, Film and Media, English and Journalism, School of Fine and Performing Arts, and School of History and Heritage. And so on. And so does the College of Science. It's got about 8, 9 different schools, starting from chemistry, computer science, all the way to the Lincoln Institute for Agri-Food Technology, the National Center for Food Manufacturing. I mentioned those ones in particular because, again, because Lincoln is situated in a very rural county in what is an agricultural belt of the region, this is one area that we feel we try to push as an initial point of engagement, where we can generate impact through our collaborations, because by problematizing, we know the issues around food manufacturing and production, and the issues around food shortages as well, have meant that there's something that we can collaborate, especially when you're talking with the Global South, with people in terms of finding a problem, that we can work together and find solutions to therefore drive and derive impact to our local communities. So this is one area that we'll be looking to explore in some distant future. So the College of Social Science is exactly what it is on the tin. I think if you look across, generally most universities will have those kind of schools: School of Social and Political Science, Professional Development Center, Health and Social Care, and so on and so forth. And lastly, but not least, the Business School, Lincoln International Business School. Unlike the other colleges, the business school has got, instead of schools, it's got departments. So it's a business school, but it's a college in its own right, with departments, namely 3 departments: accountancy, advertising, banking, and accountancy, finance and economics, business, Department of Management, and the Department of Marketing, Languages and Tourism. So listed there are some of the programs. So colleagues, I hope this gives you a general view of what the University of Lincoln looks like, its structure, and perhaps maybe pointing to areas and schools that you may belong to, or you may want to extend your hand of collaboration towards. So now I'll hand over to Paul. If there are no questions, I think I'll hand over to Paul, who will now drill a bit deeper into the subject area of the day. Thank you.
So thank you, David, for that brief introduction about University of Lincoln, where we are. I'm presenting from today. Please, if you can stop sharing your screen. I'm sure that the colleagues who are here will want to ask questions at the end of our our discussion. So I want to share my screen in a minute. So just we do that. So I hope everybody's able to see my screen. Yes, David, can you confirm you can see my screen, please?
Yes, I can. It's clear.
So yes, so good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to this more or less discussion. So which we are going to focus this discussion on the approach we are taking at the University of Lincoln, particularly Lincoln International Business School, on decolonized collaboration and partnership. So once again, my name is Paul Igwe. So, and I'll share my email for also further contacts at the end of the presentation. So what we want to look into or explore together today, so I've taken an agenda in the form of what do we really, refer to when I stated or we stated that we take a decolonized approach to collaboration and partnership. But also, it is important that we highlight what we mean by decolonizing and the elements. But also take you through the processes that we undertake when we are trying to collaborate and partner, and the resources required, including, and finally, I'll bring everybody on board in terms of what you might like to, we might like to explore related to collaboration and partnership. And I put these questions together. So at the beginning, but we're going to be discussing these questions at the end. So I just wanted everybody to take notice of the questions and begin or make note of it, because that once I've done my brief overview of the context of what we are doing at the University of Lincoln. So I would like us to explore these questions that looks into what are the types of collaboration or partnership that your institution might be looking for or might be seeking from Western universities such as us. Again, what are the opportunities, and what benefit will there such, partnership and collaboration bring? And again, as we all know, with every engagement or activities comes challenges. So it's important to understand what challenges that might, be associated with such, movement. So please, if we can take note of these questions and begin to think about it. So this will form our deliberation agenda by the end of my short presentation. Okay, so regarding collaboration, I do not want to start going academic in terms of trying to define partnership or collaboration. I'm sure all of us are aware and have engaged in partnership and collaboration, but I decided to put this definition together to bring into context what we informs our that direction of travel when we try to engage in collaboration and partnership. So we are looking for shared knowledge, we are looking to share resources, we are looking to improve what we have and what we know. So that informs our partnership and collaboration agenda. So we want to work together so that we can have a meaningful achievement, something that improves our institution, and something that adds value to the society. So these are the things that inform our, our motives for, and again, today we are engaging with NEMA, which is part of those collaborative and partnership activities. So when we talk about decolonized collaboration, you agree with me that it is more about, how to find a very collegial way of how to find a very attractive way that, institutions can collaborate and work together. But, the foundations must be one that, has, the interest of those coming together, such that, we can, leverage on those relationships to improve of the staff experience in our various institutions, but also improve of students, experience, and processes of knowledge acquisition and knowledge production, which are the roles of higher education institutions. So you will now, if you want to digest, okay, or if you want to dissect, a decolonized form of higher education internationalization activities. So I just highlighted a few things or few features, which I'm sure you may be interested to know how we're doing it, but also what we are doing. So, such elements include a non-extractive. So when we talk about non-extractive, so here we are guided by, it is just not about going to dominate, the global south or global north. It's just not about going to see what we can get from, global south or global north. It's about, okay, it is recognizing that, the partnership has to be equal. Everyone, have things that maybe they are interested to engage with. Everyone has, shared problems that they want to solve. Everyone has got, shared values that, they will bring on board and in order to help improve their institutions. So, and in doing so, while we're doing so, most of the processes has to be transparent. The processes has to be consulting. So the processes have to, be the one that, everyone, understand the objective, the aims, and what the targets, and beside the target, but what, how to sustain such relationship is clearly, uh, uh, presented but analyzed by all key stakeholders. But as you all know, we are in institutions where, our activities are, are measured. So it is important that when we are considering a partnership and collaboration, that we also have key performance indicators that, enable us to see where and what we have achieved, within a period of time, for any particular collaboration or partnership. So then I thought about the processes that we undertake in our decolonized internationalization activities. So, and I wanted to highlight more related to identify partners. So what do we do? So most cases, we identify partnership, opportunities, through staff and student informal activities or research collaborative activities. As you all know, being in the higher education system involved that staff and students engage, with external members of other institutions in their research, in their learning. So in many cases or instances, so our staff and students will recommend, especially valuable and very interesting association that they are engaged in, and begin to explore with with our team on, how such association or such relationship could be very important towards our internationalization activities. So in that way, we start assessing that. And in many cases, it can also be from the network. For example, what we are doing now today with NEMA, is a very good example of that, or professional network of staff and students. but also the university has advisory board, that also do recommendations where they find, very interesting, but also very useful collaboration or partnership that will re-enhance, but to reinform what the university objectives, achievement of the university objectives, and other forms of identify the partners. So it's really important to highlight this. Okay, once we've done that, so typically formalizing and starting collaboration is what universities, is what academics, is what researchers do as part of our life. So, but our approach has been, to, in a way, so once we have identified partners that, we share the same ideas or ideologies, share the same values, but also we share the same problems or concern, we begin to think about possibly, knowing about those partners, committing to, visiting or exchanging staff within the institutions that are involved, with a view of knowing, everyone and knowing the team, with a view of exploring, where and what are the key opportunities for partnering or collaborating, but also with a view to, strengthening and enhancing the need for common interest to be protected. But above all, we also take, the approach of defining. So what are the activities that this partnership or collaboration will be undertaking? Are there timelines, associated with those undertaking, but also what form of commitment? So, and then when it comes to commitment, it could be various forms of commitment. For example, with a collaboration, maybe it leads to formalization, which is now a partnership, but also a commitment to say, what are the key elements that both partners will be engaging that benefit or that result to achievement of the key objectives that were set out at the beginning of the partnership arrangement. So, and like I said earlier, that leads to formalizing the agreement if it was a collaborative activities at the initial stage, describing the stakeholders role, clarifying, the legal obligations that, everyone of the partners must, observe intellectual property rights. Okay, what are the values of the institution that need to be protected? What are the images of the institution that we need to highlight, or how does this partnership improve research, improve external engagement, improve students mobility or students activities? So these are what we, are captured within the targeted outcomes, which will be measured periodically, and, everyone among the partners will have a shared responsibility about what is their stake, but also what do they contribute and what do they deliver within that partnership. So this is exactly, just taking you through what we're doing before we begin to go into our discussion phase. So again, so what we have also tried to achieve within our internationalization activities is we have a dedicated team. For instance, at the Lincoln International Business School, we have regional academic leads. So these are academics from a different discipline whose focus is to explore relationship and meaningful collaborative activities at different regions. For example, I'm speaking to you today in the capacity of regional academic lead for West Africa and East Africa. So within that role, I've engaged in various collaborative engagement with different universities from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and also continuing to explore other institutional, engagement that will add value to both universities and also University of Lincoln. So within those relationships, we have been able to develop both academic relationship where we are engaging in academic activities, but also we're engaging in research activities. Within also that relationship, we have been able to explore funded research. For example, we have been able to explore research funded by British Council on Innovation and Entrepreneurship for Higher Education. We're looking to how to strengthen entrepreneurship education in the Nigerian higher education space. Also, we're able to secure funding that is looking at the underrepresentation of women in the higher education leadership positions in the Nigerian higher education system. Also, that project is funded by the British Council. So again, so what we also try to engage is we encourage mobility. So mobility, staff mobility, student mobility. Also we also encourage the governing team mobility. So in most cases, like this week we had some vice chancellors from East Africa visiting University of Lincoln. We have had several vice chancellors this year alone visiting University of Lincoln. We also, our vice chancellor also undertake trip to visit other, potential, but also agreed partnership that we have. So we travel with such dedicated team, in addition to staff and mobility and student mobility. So we also within, for identify a network to associate, such as NEMA, which we're associating today. We associate with such network. We also have opportunity for the potential to develop advisory, opportunities that enhances the collaborative engagement that we undertake. But in many cases, also, as we all know, universities like to engage with intellectual and expertise. So we also appoint, when we identify experts in various fields, we recommend them to appointment as visiting professors or visiting scholars and all of that. So, like as I pointed out earlier on, we engage in many cases through the different research association or research strands that we have in the university. For example, we have the UNESCO chair at LIPS. We engage in supportive small grants that enables the initiation of preliminary projects that potentially could lead to a greater or bigger project that with possibility for external funding. So as I pointed out earlier on, some of the things that we engage beside education, beside teaching and learning, is also to identify and explore opportunities for funding, from external bodies that strengthen the activities that are within the line of the collaboration and also partnership. So these are the, the key things that I wanted to highlight in terms of what we are doing at the University of Lincoln, and then to take this foundation of what we are doing to open up the discussion, about what type of collaboration and partnership might your institution, or in this case, NEMA, be requiring from institutions like us or any other Western institution or even in the global South? And what are the opportunities, that is there for us to collaboratively work together, and possibly are there challenges that we may want to share? So David, I don't know if there's anything I've missed, but but if not, these are the questions that I wanted us to open up for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I think you've covered it very well. I think maybe further questions that colleagues may want to consider in terms of their own personal collaborations, could be answered or addressed in conversation as we attend to the 3 questions that you've got. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. So the floor is open. I think because we are of the number we have, we don't need to go into breakout rooms. So we can just, anybody raise your hand or feel free to jump in, and then, and also feel free to navigate through the questions as you might please. We don't have to go on any order.
Perhaps we could start with a question ourselves, because I think something that I know is contextually loaded. We've mentioned a decolonized approach to our collaborative efforts. Perhaps what I would want to ask colleagues is, of course, decolonization is a problematic term from a Western perspective, and we're talking about it from a Western institutional perspective. What and how does decolonization resonate in the East African context? Is there anyone out there? Juliet, are you still with us? I'm mentioning Juliet because you're the last person.
Hello, this is Dr. Gadruzaza.
Okay.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
I am in a place where I have competing priorities, but I thought that these questions I should contribute to them. I am excited about the opportunities presented by the University of Lincoln to partner with us in the South. And I had the privilege also of hosting a numerous seminar where I talked about the topic network or disappear. And so this is also timely. It is my considered opinion that as the world narrows up through shortened distance and also through ICT, that we'll do much together as the world, which the politicians call the coalition of the willing. It is my understanding that the Network of Multidisciplinary Research Africa, NEMRA, has embarked on developing a research agenda. Also, currently, we have some research teams we are working on. Possibly by looking at what we can work together through that research agenda. For example, youth health. For example, even then, the science of collaboration itself, because North-South issues today, we are looking at the science of collaboration. It is an entity in itself. This is also a researchable area. Then we know how global security through, for example, water security, food security, how those issues are cross-cutting, especially when also we consider climate change. So I consider that your presentation is relevant. It provides us with the chance to brainstorm what we can achieve together. It also is timely in the way that the sustainable development goals identify the key areas that can push the world to a higher level. And we can observe in the South, in Africa, that we take a heavy chunk of the effects of global warming. So I think these cross-cutting issues we can look at. For example, ICT and health, ICT and education, the whole subject of e-governance. But already we need to build on your issue that you presented before to us, food security. I submit, thank you for listening to me. In case I am out, you will understand that it's because of competing priorities. Over and out, thank you. Salutations to Nimra, salutations to Lincoln University and other partners.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Gad, for that overview in terms of the opportunities and benefits that are out there for collaborative activities. And yes, before I come to you, Julie, I think there was a question on the chat that says, can individuals or only NEMA collaborate with us? As you all know, individuals can collaborate with us, but individuals cannot collaborate with institutions. Individuals collaborate with academics. So it is important that depending on your need as an academic, an individual academic in any institution, is to also, like I said at the beginning when I was doing my presentation, we also explore and identify, individuals and institutions we want to engage with. So it's also important that as an individual, if you're looking in any way, and it's not everything must be a partnership. In many cases, higher education institutions and academics collaborate. Collaboration starts with informal collaboration. So there are various avenues and platforms. In many cases, how we reach out to some colleagues have identified on LinkedIn, that are, what they are doing is associated with me. I will reach out to them, I will follow them, I will send them an email to say, will you be interested? I'm working on this. Will you be interested for us to work together? Or I have a question. Can you please help explain this question to me? And from there, we'll begin to build a relationship. So if you're an individual, then you can think about, exploring University of Lincoln staff and academics and students, and see who you want to identify that share the same interest with you, that can work together with. But also for NEMA, there are various opportunities. For example, what we are doing now, engaging in knowledge sharing. We as a university, we engage, we undertake conferences, we engage in knowledge sharing, we do visiting or guest, activities. So all of which can, there are avenues for us to collaboratively work together. So can I bring in Juliet, please? Could you come in, please?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Paul, and thank you so much, Dr. David. I hope I've mastered the names very well. My question is almost closely related to what Dr. Salam has asked. For example, if our institution maybe doesn't have a collaboration with your university, is there a possibility or considerations of individuals, maybe if they would want to attend, let's say, conferences, or maybe would want to use your facilities? How can that be handled? Facilities, I may say, for example, if you have, okay, I saw you had some College of Science, and maybe if I have my samples and maybe I'm lacking where to analyze them from, how can that be handled? I just want to know of that. And maybe want to share you. For me, this is the beginning of our collaboration with your University of NIMRA, collaborating with the University of Lincoln, because I see already we are among the identified possible partners, and I think NIMRA as a professional body, yeah, there is a possibility of the collaboration. So what comes next now that we know each other? Thank you so much. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. David, do you want to come in to address that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Juliet, for that question. So your initial question is that if you want to collaborate individually and access facilities at the University of Lincoln, how do you go about it? I think we have to be creative about how we do this, and it's something that's why I was asking that question earlier about, you know, your views on decolonial approaches. But to be precise to your question, Juliet, if you were to approach the University of Lincoln with your samples, or you needed a space to work on as an individual, or even if you're coming from another institution, normal practice is that they will charge you. You have to pay lab fees, you have to pay the going rate for the work that you want to do. Now, this is the power of collaboration that comes in. If you identified an individual that you said, not only am I trying to test my samples, but I'm working on something like XYZ, you know, and what are the outcomes going to be? We'll write a paper, we'll publish, or apply for funding, and, you know, there is a horizon, a promising horizon within this project. So if that colleague is working with you on that project, then they scope to say, look, you know, because they can take ownership of the samples. Now, they are in collaboration with you, of course. They can then present that as a case on a case-by-case basis to their academic lead for consideration. But where resources are going to be spent, like in anything else, those questions will always remain. You know, what is the purpose of the research? What's going to be the outcome of the research project, and so on and so forth. And that gets costed in the long, you know, in time. But where impact can be demonstrated, such as public research publications and so on and so forth, then that ameliorates the whole chain of request. I hope that answers your question, Juliet. And I think Paul mentioned this right at the beginning, that institutions rarely partner with an individual, you know. So in any collaboration, you know, that we should be talking about here should be on an academic to an academic level, you know, but never, you know, to scale it up to the point where somebody can walk into an institution and say, I've got, you know, this work that needs doing. Can I do it for free? I think that'll be, you know, that'll be a very difficult scenario to envisage. Now, to your second question, where to with NEMRA? I think we still have to discover and find out about each other. You know, you mentioned that NEMRA is a professional body. That is news to me. I thought it was a group of like-minded individuals. We have just come together to work, but we can explore each other. There's always scope. You know, our approach, I'm sure Paul will agree with this, is never to say no, but to find, you know, find things to do together. What can we do together? Once we found those things to do, to work and collaborate on, those are the things that will justify why we need to formalize a partnership, you know. So one of our approaches at our University of Lincoln is not to run away and sign MOUs left, right, and center, you know. Our approach is, let's do things, let's work together, and the work that we do together should lead us to formalizing and signing agreements of collaboration. So I hope that sort of sets sides to our expectations. We are more activity driven. You know, what are we doing with our partner? You know, what are we doing with our within our engagement? Other than that, then it just becomes, you know, I know of institutions that will sign MOUs. If you go to their webpage, you know, the website, they will claim we've got more than 100 partnerships across the world, you know, and putting them on a global map, and you see that they're, you know, they've signed MOUs all over the place. But when you ask, okay, so tell me, what are you doing with these partners? Quite often, it's just a deafening silence, you know. And our approach is totally opposite, you know. So we have to start by identifying where and what can we do, you know, and build those activities. And then we get to a stage where we say, now that we're doing this, perhaps what's restricting us to progress further is because we've not formalized our arrangement. So let's go ahead and formalize it so we can progress further. Juliet, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Okay, so is there any more hands up? Anybody want to ask questions or address the questions here? Whichever one. Let's make it open. So either it's you're asking question or you're responding to any question or questions that are not here?
Somebody asked for your email address, Paul. I think your email address can be shared via, what's this?
I can put it like at the end of the PowerPoint,
okay.
So that yes, everybody can take, which I will do now while I'm still on the board. Yeah. So yes, more question, please.
Hello.
Yes, Amos, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Picking up from where Dr. Rugara stopped, you mentioned about being finalizing on the collaboration between NEBRA and Lincoln. I have two questions. Number one is, can opportunity for postdoc be possible areas of collaboration in Lincoln University? That is number one. Number two, anyway, it's related to the first slide you showed on Lincoln University where it is cited. It looks very beautiful. I really, really appreciate it. And but then I saw the School of Built Environment. Actually, I'm about rounding my PhD in the School of Built Environment here in Makerere University. I saw the School of Built Environment placed under College of Arts. Yeah, what is the logic for that? Thank you.
I think Amos, if you start asking for logic, and institutions of higher learning, higher education, you'll be asking that question forever. Just yesterday, we're having a conversation with the Vice Chancellor from Kabarak University. We're visiting us. They also saw that the School of Architecture is in the College of Arts now, and they were asking, how so? I think it's because the quick and unsatisfactory answer to it, because I don't think we'll ever satisfy that question, Amos, is that there's a lot of design modules that sit alongside these built and architectural schools. And those get a lot of resources from the College of Arts. So it was more a resource issue than a subject material issue. And as well, our School of Engineering, we sit under the College of Sciences, which is where you'd want your built environment to be, right? We have got a collaboration with Siemens, and Siemens made it very specific that they wanted to ring fence the funds for the School of Engineering, so the funds do not flow back to the College of Sciences. So hence, it was purely a non-strategic, but rather a functional issue to say, for them to get the resources non-contaminated with the Siemens resources, let's put these schools under the College of Arts. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes.
And then to the first one, where possibilities for postdoc at Lincoln, there are possibilities for postdoc. But I wouldn't want to raise your expectations because it's a very competitive area, So usually postdoctoral opportunities are advertised, and unless if you're self-funding and you've got a project that you have identified, I think it goes back to what we spoke about, that if you've got something that you're putting on the table and there's a project that you are working on, or you've got a specialism that is quite unique, then you can get those kind of overtures, people reaching out to you to say, look, we need you here. But in terms of sharing with the calls for postdoc, I think something that we can discuss with Lois to have a timely sort of feed that says, here are the opportunities, apply like everybody else. It's a very competitive field. I don't know, Paul, from your research.
So, David, you're right. Most of these opportunities are always advertised periodically and in different fields. So we are not in the position to determine when and what. So depending on the needs, for different departments or faculty. However, just to re-emphasize David's point about if you have got because most academics who are, and including University of Lincoln academics, who are in the Western world, we actually want to do something with the global South, or the African community. So both of us are actually actively seeking for individual collaboration. So for example, but also as academics in Africa or East Africa, you should also be seeking for the academics who are doing similar things to what you're doing and reaching out to them. Nothing stops, worst case scenario, the person will say, oh, sorry, I'm not interested, but reaching out to say, I have got this is what I'm doing. I'm looking for, academics to collaborate, and I identified you. I think you might be useful to what I'm doing. Can we partner? Sorry, can we collaborate to do this X, Y, Z? And these are the outcomes for doing those, collaboration. I'm sure most academics, by the time you contacted 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, one person will say, yeah, I'm interested in this. And that's always the beginning of many, as I stated earlier on, even the partnership that we create always start from those informal, academic to academic, collaboration on a particular project. And through that, maybe that academic will approach the faculty and say, I'm interested in this project. Please, can we do this experiment? Can we get opportunity to do this experiment here? Or can we look for small funding that enable this academic or this researcher to come here for 2 weeks to actually do this experiment? So that academic will facilitate it, once there is an interest. But if nobody is interested in that from that faculty or from that department, nothing is going to happen. So that is why it's important to create that network.
If I can just add, Paul, I think I did ask this as a question, Amos. Now you're going to be our target face on this one. We did ask the question, what are the contextual or conceptual elements around decolonization from the East African perspective, but unfortunately no one was forthcoming. The reason why I was asking that, Amos, and here is sort of a backdoor entrance into opportunities, is that institutions in the West have got a huge agenda to decolonize their curriculum, to decolonize their academic practices, to decolonize their research. And as Paul mentioned, now more than ever, individual academics are actively looking, because they're being pushed to evidence decolonial methodologies in their work. They're actively pursuing and looking to partner or collaborate with people in the global South to enhance their capacity to engage in decolonial activities. So the question back, and I'll restate that question: what's the decolonization agenda like in East Africa, in the context of Uganda? And from an academic perspective, how are you guys sort of attending to decolonial calls to decolonize curricula, practice, pedagogy, and so on and so forth?
And before maybe he address that question for some of our colleagues who may not be very conversant with the decoloniality issues or the decolonizing agenda, we're talking about non-reliance or over-reliance on Western, pedagogy, Western approaches to education, Western resources, Western research philosophy. So how is East Africa trying to shift away from over-reliance, but becoming more inclusive in terms of knowledge production, becoming more diverse in terms of looking for resources, in terms of application and creation of knowledge. So these are all the things that are associated with decolonizing the research and curriculum.
Martin, you've got your hand up.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say something about decolonization in Uganda.
Yes, please.
Well, Uganda is in the process of changing the curriculum education to make sure that when students come out of school, they're able to get jobs, because the previous curriculum was such that you get education and you come out to seek for employment. But what's being done now is to make sure that when you come out of school, you're already skilled, even at maybe after 4 years, you're skilled to do something for yourself instead of relying to depending on other employers. So that one aspect which is being done in Uganda as well of decolonization, getting away from the original colonial education. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Martin, for that. That helps.
Yes. Okay. Let me say something. All right. I've been in Uganda for the past 3 years or so. I'm originally from Nigeria, doing PhD here. I think it will take a long while for Africa to achieve decolonization. Actually, due to some obvious reasons, I would say the capacity is not yet built. So the effort at training PhD students within Africa, I think is one of those capacities that is promoting the decolonization of the research curriculum and approach to the way we do our things here. But then Africa needs to do more because to retain the top academics in Africa, because the world is actually a global village, so there are so many competitive institutions that are looking for the best. So Africa needs to actually keep to its toe and develop their experts. Yeah, could it be academics in the academics or business or whatever spheres of life. Yeah, so we are still having issues of capacity, so which we need to build, like institutional capacity, human capital capacity, development capacity, all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have somebody's hand is up. Let me see. I can't see my screen very well.
Biraboa Betty.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, Biraboa.
Yes, thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, dear presenters. I'm from Lincoln Universities. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank NEMRA for giving us this opportunity to share. I work with one of the universities in Uganda. It's called Busitema University, but I'm also a student of Makerere University. In higher education. And I was just reading a paper and I was thinking about decolonization. And in the context of East Africa, we have the Inter-University Council of East Africa is promoting regionalized student mobility and staff mobility within the region. And of course, faculty from Makerere can go to Dar es Salaam University, to Nairobi and across. Yes, that's very okay, and this is being promoted. And it is, the IUCA is also the East African region, making it a higher education area in Europe. However, we find that much as it is in the context of the region, it is still funded by German, especially DAD. So just like the previous speaker, I'd like to say that we want to go there, but we still have a while to go, because we see most of the East African countries actually grappling in higher education. So it will take some time, yes, but in the context of East Africa, there are those regionalization issues. And we also have Reforum. This is an organization that is sponsoring and we've had our students go to Mozambique. We have our students go to Kenya, And these are within the African region, and they're being funded for their graduate studies, for their research, and innovations within the Africa. Happens that still the funding comes from abroad. What does that mean? Innovation that is being done is determined by someone out there who has the money. So we are trying, we are on the journey, but I believe it will take some time. Thank you. That's my submission.
Thank you very much, Betty. Yeah, I think it's one of those challenges that will always, be associated with an agenda such as this one. And I'm just writing notes here because there's an interesting theme emerging from this conversation. Jacqueline, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to talk from the perspective of early childhood education. One of the things that is very key in helping children learn is play. So you find that within our context, early childhood educators want to draw on play materials from the Western world. So what we are trying to advise and trying to let them know that we can actually create local play materials within our context, taking them back to how our ancestors used to teach their children. And so we are helping the educators know that we have a lot of resource within our context for children to actually learn. So we even go ahead and help them create some of these materials and use them with children. So we are seeing things change day by day as we continue to bring forth this kind of training and education for them to know. So that is just one example that we are doing within the area of early childhood education. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Jacqueline, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, correct.
So I think what seems to be emerging here, and thanks for that very sort of clear articulation of what is being done. And I think what it does, it also articulates the gap that I see that can be opened up for perhaps a collaborative function across NEMRA. First is that you guys are multidisciplinary. And secondly, is that one of my roles at the University of Lincoln is my chair. Actually, I'm the chair of the of decolonizing the curriculum and pedagogy. And one of the key challenges that not just University of Lincoln, but that Western institutions are facing in their efforts to decolonize their universities is the lack of resources and the other side of the coin, the lack of resources and access to those resources, such as you've mentioned, Jacqueline, in terms of knowledge. The question that is quite often asked by academics when you say, can you take a decolonial approach in your module? The question that they ask is, where do I start? What do you want me to do? Almost as if it's an instructive direction that they are looking for. So now, just to clarify that gap, the Western education system has neglected the teaching of the horrors of the empire. Colonization, so we start this conversation from decolonization in the West, coming out of the Rhodes Must Fall movement, especially more lately to the Black Lives Matter. And there was a knee-jerk reaction in some institutions to say, oops, we must decolonize in order to respond to these winds of change. So now, that conversation in the first place starts at the wrong point, assuming that people do get coloniality, do get colonization, and so on and so forth. They don't, because they are not taught this at school. And this is something that we found at the University of Lincoln, that by asking colleagues to decolonize, we're asking the wrong question. We have to go through a phase, taking a step back and say, we must inform them about colonization. We must reveal the topical nature of, or rather the temporal nature of coloniality, that it's present today. It's even induced in the futures. It is there. Coloniality exists as a fabric across time, and that has been a challenge. And this is where you guys as a group maybe could come in as elaborating on what Jacqueline has just mentioned, that, there are some practices that will not be accessible to them. It will take maybe an anthropologist going to Uganda to access those materials, those play materials that are, non-Western. So that could be an area of contribution that we can say, perhaps we could start looking at and say, how can NEMRA as a group, participate and aid, decolonial, momentum with the University of Lincoln? Something that we can facilitate, and on the other hand, the very function and opening up of that space will be very helpful in that, we can't decolonize in the West in isolation of the global South, and vice versa. The context of coloniality in the global South must be shared with the West, so that we are not, almost replacing, the left hand with the right hand, with the anticipation that there will be a change in function. That will not happen. So that's just my comment when just seeing the theme that is emerging, that either there is an interest in decolonization or perhaps an apathy in terms of your own individual approaches to research and knowledge production. But I'm happy to be corrected if that view is wrong.
Yes, definitely. Just to complement David's views on where we can start, because earlier on, when I started my little summary of what we are doing at Lincoln, I did emphasize that usually we start with an informal engagement. So perhaps it might be that NEMA, if you want to, we can start with informal engagement on decolonizing higher education system, across the learning from each other. So what can we learn from the both regions about how to decolonize the curriculum, about how to decolonize the research, or about how to decolonize knowledge. So, and perhaps one way we can do that is first, we can engage in maybe starting with webinar activities where it is collaborative webinar activity, where you, NEMA, giving your knowledge of East Africa, can also identify people who are very, very active, but also passionate in this area, and we here in the UK can also identify people or individuals or group who are active in such area. Then we can begin to explore knowledge, just as we are doing now. Have some series of webinar on how to decolonize, and I'm sure once we start, that might even draw the attention of some education agencies in Uganda, or federal agency on education, to say this is, and they could also join, and it may lead to, so initially, informal, but then it might lead to a small grant that we might find to say, okay, in collaboration with NEMA, can we, undertake a decolonized project on XYZ, and perhaps, or it might even be that the University of Lincoln might have a small grant that they want to investigate, or they want to explore area of collaboration with it on decolonizing, with activities between the West and the global South, and then we can start with a small grant, whenever such is available, from University of Lincoln, but also with a view to exploring external funding. There are always opportunities. So I think that's, I wanted to reemphasize, this is very, low hanging fruit where we can start with, informal leading to formalization. I don't know if anybody wants to come in on, to address or contribute towards a decolonized approach, which is the theme of today's discussion. I did emphasize what we are doing in terms of decolonizing the internationalization at the university. So, or you want to address the questions on the screen, or please feel free. Jacqueline, your hand is still up. You want to come back?
Yes, thank you. I'm now going to talk perspective of research. You see, most of the researches that we do draw on theories that are from the Western world. And yet, actually, we have some theories that are African. So we ourselves don't want to use the theories, thinking, okay, first of all, there are not many people who are aware of those theories. So if you used them in your work, for example, the supervisor would tell you, no, this kind of theory can't work. So I think we could also begin from that direction in terms of the theories that we are using. I know of many, for example, Ubuntu within, again, early childhood development. There are a lot of theories that can inform our research that are from the African perspective. So I think if we could look into that, that could also be very meaningful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the point, Jacqueline. That's exactly the point. That if it was agreed, for example, with NEMRA, that this is decolonization is something that we're going to look at very closely, both as a contributing, with NEMRA contributing, but also with colleagues also learning, as you say, Jacqueline. We are adverse to using, traditional, or rather indigenous theories, because we've been so colonized that we prioritize Western epistemic logics over others. So it's a question and a process of unpicking, and as maybe the follow-up will be a meeting with the key individuals within NEMRA, that we can sit down and build thematic groups to say, like you are saying, your early child education. Some understand the different spread of knowledge bases that you guys have, but then we need to build some themes that can be worked around to say, for instance, you're talking about theories. There's also an issue of case studies. How do we build a set of case studies that can then be used to articulate, a different viewpoint? For instance, if you're talking about organizational behavior or business and strategy, most case studies that will tend to be used will be the Amazon, Apple, Coca-Cola, you name it, very Western institutions. So the conceptualization of business strategies, even from a student who's learning in Africa, will be very, very Western and removed from the, the realities of the local geography, the space. So by attending, and I know that there's, Paul, we've encountered this across the world whenever we've traveled, there is a huge demand for alternative case studies, to a point that if NEMRA was serious about it, we can sit down and say, tell you what, we're going to write credible case studies. Those can be packaged and will find a market, especially in the Western academic, higher education environment, definitely. So that remains the next step, something that we can do going forward. I hope that makes sense. Paul, do you want to add?
I think Dr. Let me see, the name is hand is up before I can add. Please, okay. Yeah, Dr. Tadeo.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Tadeo Wire, and I want to thank Jacqueline, is my wife. She's the one who invited me. I don't belong to NEMRA. She just invited me and said, you must be part of this discussion. I just want to come in the last point the brother has just made about the theories, about the benchmarks that entrepreneurs or institutions are doing on Google and other high blue chip succeeded. I'm a student of entrepreneurship and small businesses, and the discussion should come from a point of, okay, we as academia, or we who have had the chance to study some of these policies, some of these models, how do we move to a level of influencing the landscape of entrepreneurship, the landscape of manufacturing, the landscape of business? When COVID came here in Uganda, we were so exposed that bigger institutions of learning could not even produce a vaccine, produce anything to curb COVID. We are in a space of food security issues, and when we started my company that does manufacturing of dairy products, we went to universities, departments of agriculture, departments of engineering, to get lecturers or people or specialists to help us formulate the recipes for our product, define scope for us, the machinery that we needed, and we failed completely. So academia should be in position to link to the meaningful challenges, to the challenges of the world, of the environment of business. Academia should be in sync with the trends that are happening in the global market. And that is where the decolonization around the institutions, around the academia and the market should be focused. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tadeo. I think I couldn't have said it better to articulate the need for decolonial sort of approach in the creation of knowledge. Hence, I mentioned the epistemic landscape, that it's at the point of knowledge production that this issue becomes problematic. A common phrase, just to articulate your point further, quite used often is, for example, African problems require African solutions. So if we are going to educate our students in a very Western way, where are those African solutions for African problems going to come from? So we are not equipping our students with, and that goes with the West as well. And that's why decolonization is a two-way flow. That even for Western, institutions or businesses, or organizations, when they are seeking solutions, because from a solution comes a business idea. If they are not equipped, if they do not understand, if they have Western in their own function, then you find that the solutions that they have for the global South will not sell, will not hit the ground running. So I think that's why I'm sort of passionate about this, because I think there is a gap that NEMRA can contribute if the desire is there to say, we can pick this up and actually make it an issue. It's topical and it's trendy, and it's very, very much going to be around for a significant period of time. Paul, you wanted to come back. I'll take. I'm just making a cup of tea.
Okay, that's fine. No, thank you for everyone who have contributed towards this discussion, and I also want to see perhaps the coordinators of NEMRA to come on board, because I think we got 2 hours. We have done 1.5 hours. I'm conscious of time. I need to be leaving in the next 15 minutes. So I think it is for the next discussion will be to see how and the modalities in terms of how do you function, who are responsible in terms of leading NEMRA, to engage in some of these things that we are envisaging, and to have a consensus about what can we agree where we can start working informally. So I'm not talking about anything to start writing agreement, but we in our capacity as based on our various positions at the University of Lincoln, we can start working informally with any of the strands that you're interested in and see how we can develop it. And over time, we can begin to think about formalization, like I said. Anybody want to come in? especially organizers or of NEMRA, or the leadership or coordinators? What do you think? What can we do? Or how do we go about what we are talking about?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Paul and Dr. David. The discussion on board is a welcome idea, and really, as NIMRA, we've been looking forward for such collaborations, which I find timely. I think in a way, we would need maybe to constitute a small committee from NIMRA side, which could follow up with you, so that we begin the one-on-one discussions. And from the discussion, I can see there are very many ideas which we can explore. And maybe we can do a needs assessment from the perspective of NIMRA, and then we find out how to proceed. That's what I can quickly say, but also members, I think they can contribute and suggest how we can, take it on from here.
Yeah, so yes, thank you very much for that. Yes, so I think what I want us to, colleagues, to start thinking about is, are we interested, or what are the opportunities to engage in research, in decolonizing approaches to teaching and learning? What are the opportunities to engage in research, in decolonizing approaches to research, philosophies and research methodologies? So I think those two will actually be a good starting point. I don't know if anybody, thinks in the same direction or not.
Yeah, I have something to say.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Guido Tadeo has brought a very important idea when he said that they tried to look in higher institution of learning, looking for people to help them to develop a business idea, but they didn't get help. And I think that is something which we can research about as NIMRA in collaboration with the Lincoln University to find the relevancy of university education to uplifting the standards of living of people in Uganda, especially regarding the business area. So we could do a research in that area and to bring out important insights. Thank you.
Yes, very good. I agree with you on that front. Yes, so one of the things we didn't go into in much detail because of time is that most of activities we engage in are also community driven. So in that way, we are looking for what benefit do our engagement have for the society. So, any activity or collaboration that might lead to, how or what, are the challenges or issues that are facing the local communities, and what can the business or education or higher education do to contribute towards attainment or achievement. Okay, when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goal, it comes with its own problem about decoloniality issues, but at least we can, find a way to also want a decolonized approach to the Sustainable Development Goals in, concerning, for example, Uganda, how that can impact on Uganda, economic growth or economic development, taking a decolonized approach to any of the SDGs. Juliet, did you want to come in? Your microphone is still off. Yes, colleagues, I think I'm conscious of the time. We only have 5-6 minutes. I need to be in another function in 10 minutes time. So please, if you have anything to contribute, please do so.
In the absence of anyone coming forward, Paul, have we agreed the next steps? What's going to happen?
Yes, so what we have agreed is that the coordinators of NEMRA will be in touch with us to streamline, have a discussion about the themes that we want to start exploring, with a view to finding a common ground for us to start something,
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Maybe one thing maybe I can quickly say, I can see the passion that Jacqueline has, and for us at NIMRA, we do volunteering service. So I want to request that Jacqueline will work hand in hand with me so that we can see the team, and then we'll communicate to you on how to commence with this discussion. Yeah, to me, this is a good start and a good way forward. And yeah, there are many opportunities which we can explore. I submit and I thank you.
That's wonderful.
Okay, so colleagues, I think that is from our own end, except if you have got other things you need to round up before we leave. But I think, yeah, we can do so in the next 5 minutes. So thank you very much for this opportunity from my own side to say I really appreciate, your contacts and also providing this opportunity to have this dialogue, and to, find ways where we can mutually co-create, but also exchange knowledge for the benefit of the society. Thank you. I don't know, David, if you have the last comments or views.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks very much. And like Paul, thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you today. And I know you're all busy with other things, but you made this happen. So thank you. But I think we should also thank Lois, I think, who's instigated this whole affair. And like I said earlier, she talks very highly of the network that you've got. So hopefully we should be able to build on what we have started here today. Thank you very much for your time, and God bless.
Maybe before you hang on, I don't know whether our moderator is there. As our culture, we usually at least give a vote of thanks. Moderator, over to you if you're still there.
Thank you, Dr. Julia. I would want to thank Dr. Paul and Dr. David for the great insights you've given us on collaboration and partnership. And as Dr. Juliet has said, we are willing to take the necessary steps. However, I would like to call in Alini Tuerugendo to come and give us a vote of thanks to the two presenters. Thank you. Over to you, Rugendo.
Thank you very much, dear moderator, for this discussion. Like my colleague, Dr. Zaza, he also had some few competing priorities, but I kept following. First of all, let me thank you, Dr. Paul, and I see Dr. Rugara, right? I think I'm very right, for this eye-opener kind of discussion, because I think what has been missing has been the very point that you emphasized, which is the decolonization of research, but also importantly, how we teach, and also creating collaborations between the North and the South. And figures actually keep showing that indeed much of the research going on the continent of Africa is done by non-Africans. And if we come to Africa itself, much of it is done by South Africans, white South Africa. So we really need these collaborations to sort of fix this problem, but also importantly, create our own narratives, our own pedagogy, our own theories, our own thinking so that then we are able to match with the rest of the world. I really thank you very much, and I hope that we will caucus internally here, and then be able to now to begin on the B2B discussions, so that then the two institutions are able to lead the way and also walk the talk. I thank you very much, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adinitra, for sharing. And I want to thank Dr. Paul and David. We wish you a good time in the other engagement. And on that note, I want to hand over to Dr. Juliet to give us some other communications. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Franklin, and everyone who has managed to attend the meeting today afternoon. I want to also thank our facilitators today for reaching out, and appreciate Royce for his fishing out for us. Maybe I just have a few housekeeping issues. The certificates, many of you have been asking certificates for the recently concluded seminar with Dr. Peter Samuels. They are now ready, and I think Vincent will be sharing with you soon. July seminar will be informing you of the exact date, and we are finalizing discussions with Southeast Technological University, SETU of Ireland. They will be the ones facilitating. Then also NIMRA and Uganda National Council of Science and Technology. A project is ongoing, which is on the status of research management and administration in Uganda. I want to appreciate NIMRA Research Associates.
Sorry, Juliet.
Who are doing the job, yes.
Sorry, to avoid you washing your dirty linen with strangers in the room, is it okay if we are excused?
Yes.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah,
all right,
please.
thank you.
Yes, we need to, yes, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you.
Yes, I think I was coming to close of the few communications, and I think that's it. And just a kind reminder to all of us to always register for these seminars. And Mr. Rugendo, kindly continue notifying us, and we appreciate all you're doing. Plus everyone here. Nice evening. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your Heroes Day, members. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judith. I want to appreciate each and everyone who has managed to attend. And I also would like to request that let's attend in big numbers. Let us encourage other people to come on board. For instance, I want to thank Dr. Jacqueline for inviting Dr. Wire, and yet he's not a member. So let us encourage people who are not members to join us, so that we harness all this information, but also help develop education in our country, but to the country at large. Dr. Juliet, I want to thank you and the committee for giving me this opportunity to moderate. For me, it's always a learning opportunity. I want to get to Mr. Arinito's position. He's taking the pole position, so I hope I'll get there. But with those very many words that have been said, I'd like to wish all of you a happy Heroes Day. Bye-bye for now.